We're going to have a look at what is grabbing headlines back here in France now, though. Flo's with us on set. So papers still focusing, aren't they, Flo, on that first round of the left-wing primary on Sunday. Doubts have been raised over the results, haven't they? It's very bizarre. They're critics saying a lack of information about the turnout suggests that this count could be erroneous.
That's right. What is this wheeling and dealing? That's what Le Parisien wants to know today. On the front page, you can see the first secretary of the Socialist Party, that's Jean-Christophe Cambadélis. He says nothing wrong, there's nothing fishy with the results, but several French papers are a little confused about the math. Le Monde, for instance, was originally behind this story. They compared the turnout communicated by the elections organizers at 12:45 a.m., so that was on Monday morning, with the numbers published on the official website later in the morning, right around 10 o'clock. And there were 350,000 extra votes. Why not? There were extra votes, but the problem was the scores for each candidate hadn't budged since 12:45 a.m., which a lot of papers point out is just statistically impossible.
Does sound like a bit of a bungle in the maths, doesn't it? Bad news as well, of course, Flo, for the left wing, already trailing in the polls ahead of the upcoming presidential election. That's
right. Now, what's interesting is none of the candidates in the primary have contested the results, but papers agree that it really does make the party look bad. There's a good cartoon inside Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien. You can see Cambadélis with the primary winners, Manuel Valls and Benoît Hamon, in a pile of ballots, I guess trying to recount them. Meanwhile, here comes Emmanuel Macron, who's been a real headache for the left wing, saying, "Do you need my help? I'm a banker. I know how to count." And you can see a very irritated-looking Manuel Valls saying, "Shut up, Macron."
I love it, I love it. Some critics even going as far, Flo, as accusing the party of cheating.
That's right, and what's interesting is a lot of papers are using a quote by the socialist heavyweight Martine Aubry. She used to say, "Quand c'est flou, il y a un loup." When things are a little hazy, unclear, it means there's a wolf. Essentially, when there's smoke, there's fire. And so you can see this on the front page of L'Opinion, the pro-business paper. There's definitely a taste of cheating in this primary. And they've also got a good cartoon, it must be said. This is by CAC. You can see Cambadélis there once again wearing a dunce's cap this time, holding a calculator, once again a pile of ballots, seems very lost in calculation. Meanwhile, he's saying, "We can confirm there are indeed 7 candidates that took place in that primary."
Now, the socialist authorities perhaps starting to make a bit of an admission. First, they said it was a mathematical bug. Before, now they're blaming human error.
That's right. And regardless of whether it was a computing glitch or, a human error, lots of papers are saying the damage is done. You can read more about it in L'Obs. This terrible suspicion of fraud, it really seems like the party tried to inflate or exaggerate the turnout because it was really hoping there would be a big turnout to show, that they still exist, that they are going to play a role in the upcoming presidential election. But Nouvel Observateur points out that, look, the damage is done already. This could have a serious impact on round 2, which is this Sunday. And Lup says, look, if it indeed does turn out that there was some voting fraud here, it wouldn't be a disaster. It would be even worse than a disaster for the left. It would be cataclysmic. It would be the end of the Socialist Party as we know it.
Well, let's go back to the politics. The 2 remaining candidates, they're keeping their head in the game ahead of round 2 this Sunday. Benoît Hamon is still favoured to win, isn't he?
Absolutely. He won round 1. He's on the front page of Libération today, apparently putting on a fake pair of sunglasses here. You can see they're talking about Hamon, le compte est presque bon. They're playing on this whole fiasco around the voting figure. They're saying, look, it's a done deal, but almost, minus the funny math here. If you want to know more about Benoît Hamon, do take a look at Libération today. They have an in-depth report on what they call the Hamon galaxy, so his entourage, his mentors, who inspires him, and they remind readers, that Benoît Hamon really represents the left wing of the Socialist Party, the part that's more towards the left.
And of course, his big man that he's running about is Manuel Valls, who perhaps we know a little bit more about, representing the more conservative Social Democrat branch of the left wing.
That's right. He's more to the right of the left wing. Now, he's on the front page of L'Humanité, the Communist Party paper, rather. Now, L'Humanité, must be said, Communist paper, is not that much of a fan of Manuel Valls, who represents the more centrist right wing of the left wing. So you can see it's not, I guess, a very flattering portrait of him here. They're saying he's more and more isolated, and you get a real feeling that L'Humanité is quite excited about the fact that he is going towards the exit. In fact, you can see this photo of him quite literally walking out a door, and they have an interesting play on words on their front page. You can see they're saying valse en marche vers la sortie, so he's walking towards the exit, but En Marche is, of course, the name of the movement created by his arch rival, Emmanuel Macron.
Not all about politics today in the papers. They're also focusing on the situation in Calais, aren't they?
That's right. You can read about that on several front pages. You can see 20 Minutes talking about how 3 months after the camp was dismantled, the so-called jungle migrant camp, migrants have returned to Calais. So they're talking about Calais, so Calais again, but in French it sounds a lot like recalé, which actually means a failure. It seems like efforts to close the camp have just failed. In fact, you can read more about that in Le Parisien as well, which talks about how there are between 200 and 400 migrants who have returned to Calais, many of them minors. Le Parisien interviews many of them. Many of them are from Afghanistan, Eritrea, and they're all trying to get to England. And Le Parisien also interviewed locals in Calais. Remember, locals were very fed up by the situation. One of them says, believing migrants would leave Calais was an illusion. And Le Parisien reports as well that NGOs are really sounding the alarm.
Flo's going to finish on something completely different. A bit of a fishy tale she's got for us.
That's right. You can read more about this in Le Monde. It's about a Belgian biologist, Éric Parmentier. He's not so much the fish whisperer, but the man who listened to fish whisper. He studies the sounds that fish make because though they might seem silent, fish, it turns out, are very noisy. This field of fish vocalization, apparently this is what Le Monde says at least. Yeah. So this field, fish vocalization, it's not a very crowded scientific field, and he's quite of a specialist. For instance, he discovered that clownfish make alert noises. I wonder what it sounds like. Maybe the circus coming into town or something.
Sort of a noise.
You do a very good job. Maybe you should study
good, isn't it? Thank you very much, Flo. I found a new career, fish impressions. Thanks, Flo. Flo back a couple of hours' time, of course, with the international press review for us.